I want to welcome all of you here today, each one of you. This lesson is without question one of the most important lessons that we're going to cover. In the 60 years, I've come to the conclusion that this lesson is one of the most important ones, and it's one most people never learn. Sounds wild, doesn't it? Well, it is wild. I'm going to share with you the most valuable idea I've learned from studying this book, Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill, every day now for 60 years. And just one idea from a chapter in this book has been responsible for me earning millions of dollars. So I want you to pay particularly close attention. This is something almost everybody thinks they know how to do, and they really don't know how to do it. This is on the very first page of the chapter on decision in this book, Think and Grow Rich. Now, this is an actual photograph of that page. Analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and of changing those decisions slowly if and when they were changed. People who fail to accumulate money, without exception, have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing those decisions quickly and often. You see, Andrew Carnegie was the wealthiest man in the world in 1908. He was friends with Henry Ford, with Thomas Edison. If you go back and study history in around the 1900 mark, there was a lot of real heavyweights at that particular time. And they got to know each other. In fact, they masterminded together, some of them. Well, Carnegie, aside from the others, thought it was an absolute shame that these guys were all going to go to their grave with all this knowledge they had gathered locked up in their bones. Because without exception, every one of them started with nothing, and they rose to great heights. He became the wealthiest man in the world. Well, of course, he was the one that commissioned Napoleon Hill to write The Laws of Success. I have behind me, right here, you'll see these red books. Maybe you could come in on them, Scott, could you? I don't know. See these red books right here? They're the first ones. There's a set of 8. I'll just tip them forward. Those particular books were the ones that he wrote, and he wrote those in 1928. And then they were called The Laws of Achievement. And then from that, he wrote Think and Grow Rich. What he did, he took all those different lessons and put them all in this one book. Now, the very first page in the chapter on decision, he points out that very few people, very few, learn how to make decisions. Why don't we? Well, I've thought about this a lot, and I've come to the conclusion, I'm a parent, you want to protect your kids. You really do. And so you make decisions for them. Well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and you tell them what to do. I'm an exception to that rule in this one area, because I started to study this before any of my kids were born. I never made a decision for them. Now, that wasn't always an easy thing to follow just because it wasn't. I'll tell you a cute story. One day, Raymond, who's my youngest son, and he's a big guy. He's the biggest one in the family. And he came to me one day, and I could see him. We were in the kitchen. He's sort of wandering around, and I knew he was going to lay something on, but I didn't know what it was. And he said, Dad, could I talk to you about something? And I said, yeah, what do you want? Well, he said, I'm thinking of quitting the swimming team. I said, I see. What do you think? And I said, I don't know, Ray. I'm not on the swimming team. I can't make that decision for you. That's the decision Well, he said, you can help me, give me your opinion. And I said, no, I really can't do that because I'm not on the swimming team. And have you talked to your coach about it? Well, no, not yet. I said, well, it would probably be a good idea if you went and talked to the coach, wouldn't it? And he said, well, I've been thinking about it, and when I leave school, swimming isn't going to do anything for my career. Well, I said, that's probably true unless you decide to be a lifeguard or something. And I knew what the problem was. if you're on a swim team in school, you practice early in the morning before you go to school. So 5 o'clock in the morning, you hear the kids leaving the house and they're off to dive in that cold pool. And I guess that's not the most pleasant part of the day. And but you've got to practice, and that's when they practice. And I knew that's the part he didn't like. He didn't mind the swimming. In fact, I think he enjoyed the meets. He was a good part of the team. He was tall, he was a good swimmer. And so he mucked around for a little while, and finally he was getting ready to leave, and he was leaving. I said, Ray, I said, you're having trouble with this. Well, I said, yeah, hello. I said, you know something? If you keep working at it, you'll get good at it. He said, what do you mean? Well, he said, I think I'm going to quit. I said, that's what I'm talking about. You had trouble getting at that decision. But if you keep practicing this, you'll get good at it. It's hard to quit, isn't it? He said, yeah. I said, you know something, next time you go to quit, it'll be easier. And he said, pretty soon you'll be a real good quitter. Well, he looked at me and shook his head and he walked away, and he was really not very happy camper. But you see, he had to make that decision. Too many parents make decisions for their kids. And then when the time comes, they leave the nest, they go out on their own, they don't know how to make a decision. And this is a big problem, trust me. So, how do you learn it? Well, I'm going to show you here today. And, pardon me, it is a big idea. It is a real big idea. This is why you have so many people going around saying, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? They're asking somebody else. They're asking people probably that don't think what they should do. Decisions are big deals. Now here's a big decision. There's Andrew Carnegie and Napoleon Hill. Carnegie wanted someone to write the Laws of Achievement, and Hill had gained a 3-hour interview with him. The magazine he was working for, he was a young reporter, was writing an article on wealthy people, on money. And Hill scored a 3-hour interview with Andrew Carnegie. Well, unbeknownst to Hill, Carnegie was looking for people. And at the end of the 3-hour interview, Carnegie said to Napoleon, this interview isn't ending, it's just beginning. I want you to come home with me. And he spent 3 days with him. Hill said he was glad he took him home because he didn't have enough money to rent a hotel room. So here's the wealthiest man in the world and a young reporter that hasn't got enough money to rent a hotel room. He spent 3 days with him. At the end of the 3 days, he said, now Napoleon, I'm going to ask you a question. He said, you know pretty well everything. I've explained my whole philosophy to you. He said, I'm going to ask you a question. I want just a yes or no answer. Now, unbeknownst to Hill, he had in his hand, under his desk, a stopwatch. He had given him 60 seconds to answer the question. And he said, here's the question. Would you dedicate the rest of your life to an idea for which you would probably receive no material compensation for at least 20 years? Hill made a decision in 29 seconds. He said he would. That was a big deal. I mean, that's a major decision. 29 seconds. He'll learn something when he was spending that 3 days with him, obviously. And then he said to him, now, Napoleon, you've taken on a big chore. He said, you're going to have a lot of bumps in the road. He said, things are not going to run smooth for you. When you make big decisions, you attract big problems. And he said, everything in you is going to want to quit. So I'm going to give you an affirmation. I want you to take your pen and I want you to write it down. I want you to write every word, underline every word. And here it is. Now he said, you're going to be talking to yourself when you say this. Thanks, God. Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to equal your achievements in life, but I'm going to challenge you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. Andrew Carnegie, I am not only going to equal your achievements in life, but I'm going to challenge you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. Hill said he threw his pen on the floor. He said, now you know darn well that's not going to happen. And Hill said, I know it's not, Napoleon. Unless and until you burn that idea into your subconscious mind. Now listen, he went home, he was living with his brother, and he locked himself in the bathroom. He didn't want to hear his brother do this. He looked in the mirror and he started to repeat that. Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to equal your achievements in life, but I'm going to challenge you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. You see, when he said he didn't think he could do it, he thought it was crazy, Carnegie got him to make a further commitment. He said, I want you to make a commitment that you'll say this every morning, looking in the mirror, and again every night. And Hill said he would. He said the first time he did it, he felt like a real fool. And he felt like quitting. But he said he made a commitment that he'd do it for 30 days. So he said he thought he better keep the commitment. And every morning and every night he did it. Now he said by the middle of the month, he didn't think it was such a crazy idea. By the end of the month, he knew that he would do it. Now look at, so far as I've been able to determine, Andrew Carnegie made something like 50 millionaires. Napoleon Hill, through his work, has made millions of millionaires. Now think about that. That is very, very big. Make decisions fast, change them slow if and when you change them at all. Here's another great example. There's President John Kennedy with Dr. Wernher von Braun. They're both gone now, God bless them, but they sure changed the world. Dr. Wernher von Braun is considered the father of the space program. And Kennedy asked him a question. He said, what would it take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring them back safely to Earth? Von Braun answered him in 10 seconds, the will to do it. That's all it would take. See, the will is that higher faculty that gives us the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. Two of the biggest decisions that were made very fast, 29 seconds, 10 seconds. Successful people make decisions very quick. If you take a long time to make a decision, it's your paradigm that's making the decision for you. It's the paradigm that's asking all the questions. It's trying to stop you. Now stay with me here for a moment. You want to control the flow of thought energy that flows to and through you. There's energy flowing to and through you, and you want to control it. Now look at all those lines. Let those lines represent levels of vibration. Levels of vibration. They're frequencies. Every frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. Now you may say, what's this got to do with decision? It's got everything to do with decision as you study into it. Okay? Every frequency is connected to the one above and the one below. Now if you study into this in depth, you're going to find out that everything in this whole place, in this whole universe is connected. What we call time and space is energy. In this room, it looks like there's nothing around me. There's stuff here sitting on the floor, the desk, the chairs, the cameras. They're things. But this space, that's energy too. Can you imagine sealing this room up airtight and then pump more of this non-physical energy into the room? What would happen? It would blow the room up. You say, you know, what you don't know can hurt you, won't hurt you. What you don't know can kill you. Now look very carefully here. I want you to let those lines represent levels of vibration. I want you to let that represent my phone. And let this represent your phone. Now, if I have your number and I hit send, bingo, we're connected. You could be on the other side of the universe. I'm going to be connected to you. Our voices would exchange. In fact, we could even put our picture on and do FaceTime. We know that. Time and space needs nothing. Why? Because we're on the same frequency. When you get on the frequency of the good that you desire, everything you want is going to flow to you, just like the other person's voice. Now, it's rather strange. We seem to have a basic understanding of this when using our phones. However, when it comes to life, we almost get lost. So let's take this basic concept and expand on it. Really listen carefully here and think of what I'm saying. Let these lines represent levels of vibration. Levels of vibration are referred to as frequencies. We think on a frequency. See, thought is energy. Thought waves are cosmic waves that penetrate all time and space. Let these puffy little clouds represent your thoughts. And it's your thoughts that produce the results you're getting. Being a spiritual being, you always want greater results. So you're not satisfied with that. You'll say, I want that. Now, this is where the problem comes in. You say, I am going to do that as soon as I get the money. I'm going to do that as soon as I get the time. I'm going to do that as soon as the kids are out of school. I'm going to do that as soon as. See, the goal that we're going after is dependent upon present results. Well, that ain't going to work. Pretty soon the decision fades, and it isn't too long after that that the goal fades. Now, what is the problem here? Really listen and think what I'm saying. Put it up, Scott. All right? Your thinking is down here on this frequency. Okay? And the good that you desire is way up here on this frequency. Your mind and thoughts must operate on the same frequency as your goal. If your goal is way up there and your thinking's way down here, it's never going to happen. You've got to think the thoughts of the person that's operating on that higher frequency. Everything around you operates on a frequency. If you go onto a beach, walk out on the sand will come up between your toes. It's energy. It's called sand. You know, you can take that stuff that we call sand and turn it into glass. Here I got glass and sand all together in this little sand timer. You see? Well, the glass that's holding the sand used to be sand itself. Now stay with me here and look at this. You've got to begin to think of the thoughts you're going to think to get the goal you're going to get, and that takes a committed decision. A committed decision is a final one. That's where you go. And you've got to think and act like the person you want to become. Now, did you notice what happened when you went up there? Let's back up. When you make a committed decision, you stop thinking on that lower level, and you automatically begin to think on the higher level. And because you're thinking on that higher level, the thoughts you need to think are coming to you. They're coming into your consciousness because those thoughts are on that higher frequency. You see, the only prerequisite for making a decision is, do you want to? You don't spend any time thinking of where the money's coming from. You don't spend any time thinking of this or that. It's, do you want to? Many years ago, I sat in Earl Nightingale's office. I had a company that was very successful. We were earning a lot of money, having a lot of fun. But when I was sitting and talking to Earl, I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to do what you're doing. I quit my own company. I went from earning a lot of money to taking a job for $18,000 a year. I was prepared to pay them to let me work there because that's what I wanted to do. I was studying this. This is the best stuff in the world, and it's what I wanted to do. So now pay attention here. Want is the only prerequisite for making a decision. Okay? That is why successful people make decisions so fast. They don't have to wonder where the money's coming from. I tell a story about a couple who wanted to buy a house, and I said, go buy it. They said, we can't buy a house, we haven't got any money. I said, you don't need any money. You have made a decision to buy the house. But you see, when you make the decision, back it up there, look in that higher line. The money's up there, it'll come to you. You'll figure out how to get it. That is why Dr. Warner von Braun said all you need is the will to do it. And that's all you need, is the will to do it. This is so important, and it's so misunderstood. Once you become aware of how to make decisions, you're going to make the decisions. You will make the decision. Because the thing that stops you is awareness. You're not aware that we operate on frequencies. You're not aware that everything's already here. And when you lock your mind onto something, stuff will come to you. You move towards it and it moves towards you. That's how the law works. And it works like unadulterated magic. Do you know that you, think of yourself, you can create your own economy. You can create your own economy. You see, thanks, Scott. You see, think of this for a moment. The earning of money is based upon a law. The law of compensation is very clear. It clearly states the amount of money you earn is always in direct ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. It's the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. All over the world, people need what we've got. They need this information. People globally are struggling. I have worked all over the world. Shanghai, Buenos Aires, all over Europe, South America, everywhere. I've gone all over the world in the last 50, 60 years. I've never gone anywhere where they don't need what we've got. We have, over the past 60 years, developed absolutely incredible material to help a person understand who they are, what they're capable of doing, and then how to step out and do it. You know, decision is just one idea. It's a word. But it's a word we're not taught how to use. We're not taught how to make decisions. As little kids, we should be taught, because we go through our life, most people, and never learn how to make a decision, which is precisely why so few people live the life they really want to live. I've often mentioned, you know, there are people right now who are near the end of the road and they know it. Their mind may be as sharp as a tack, but their body is finished. And they may be tied in a wheelchair so they don't fall out of it. My grandmother, who was a real angel of God, she spent the last few months of her life or weeks in a cribbed bed because they didn't want her to fall out of it and hurt herself more. And the angels just came one night and took her away. But I've often thought, wouldn't it be terrible to be towards the end of the road, know you're towards the end of the road, and then reflect back with your mind of all the decisions that you didn't make. I wonder what would have happened if we had gone here. I wonder what would have happened if we had done this. I wonder what would have happened if we had stepped out and done that. I wonder. Wouldn't it be better if we were in that spot towards the end of the road and we could reflect back on all the things we did? You know, I have lived all over the world. I have friends all over the world. I've worked with corporations, some of the largest and some of the smallest, all over the world. And when I picked this book up, I was 26. I had 2 months high school, formal education. I was earning $4,000 a year, now it's $6,000. I was broke. Today, I earn millions of dollars. We have a company that operates all over the world. I have a great partner and just a phenomenal crew of people in this company who are just as passionate about this material as we are and want to help people change their lives. The educational system is not doing the job. You're finding people leaving universities with a great big debt right up to here. And they may have a degree, but they can't find work. Something's gone wrong there. You see, I think Madame Montessori put it very well. We send kids to school and they're treated like they're a cup and the teachers are going to fill the cup. She said the truth is the cup is already full. School is directed to help people learn how to take it out of the cup. We have infinite potential locked up within us. We have a marvelous mind. We have higher faculties. We've got to learn how to use them. We've got to learn how to use them to live the life we really want to live. Do you know, I can show anyone how to become financially independent in a relatively short period of time if they'll do exactly what I tell them. Do exactly what I tell them until they find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't lie, and I do know what I'm talking about. That's precisely the same offer Ray Stanford gave me when he gave me this book. He said, if you'll do exactly what I tell you, until you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about, he said, I'll show you how to get anything you want. He didn't lie. He didn't know what he was talking about. Do you know, in life, there's two sources of income. One's money, material. The other's a psychic income. It's satisfaction. I talked to a doctor one day in Phoenix. He told me he was thinking of leaving the profession. I said, why are you going to do that? He said, well, the medical profession's all messed up. He said, you got to put in more time to earn less money. I said, well, why'd you become a doctor? Well, he said, I love it. And I said, why would you want to quit? Well, he said, because you can't earn the money. I said, you know your problem? You've never learned how to earn money. You don't earn money from working. You earn money by providing service. You see, you can learn how to earn money while you're sleeping. Earning money is not from work. You get satisfaction from your work. That's where the psychic income comes from. And in this business, you get an enormous degree of satisfaction. The psychic income in this is astronomical. You get phenomenal satisfaction.